Welcome to the mat. Thank you so much for choosing to practice with me. Today's Vinyasa, we are focusing on building strength in our core muscle and also toning of our obliques and opening up of our hips and increasing the mobility in our hip joint. It will be a power packed Vinyasa, and at the end of it, we would have worked most of the major muscle groups also. You do not need any props for the practice, but if you do have a block, keep it close by. It might come in handy for some of the transitions. If you don't have a block, it's completely all right. You can go through this entire Vinyasa without any props. All you need is a mat, some space, and 30 minutes of your time. Take the practice at your own pace. Be kind to yourself. Be aware of how your body is feeling during the practice, and be grateful for all the changes that you are making in your body, and be proud of yourself for being consistent. Whenever you're ready, I'll meet you on the mat, and please do consider subscribing to the channel. We'll begin the practice with 2 rounds of sun salutations. Come to the top of the mat, come into Tadasana. Make sure that your feet are hip distance apart. Engage your core. Inhale, sweep your arms all the way up. Bring your gaze towards your palms. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Bring your chest towards the mat and lengthen your hamstrings. Next breath, step back with your right leg followed by your left, coming into a plank and flow through your Chaturanga. You can bring your knees down for your first Chaturanga, and you also have an option to choose between upward facing dog or cobra. Lift your hips, come back, downward facing dog. We'll take 5 push-ups, warming up our upper body. Turn your palms slightly inwards and exhale, bend your elbows, bring the crown of your head towards the mat and push back up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Palms back to neutral. Lift your heels, bend at your knees, hop to the front of the mat, or you have an option to walk up to your palms. Halfway lift. Lengthen your hamstrings, fold forward, come all the way up into Tadasana. Inhale, sweep your arms up, bring your gaze up towards the palms. Exhale, fold forward. Halfway lift, palm the mat, chest works down towards the mat and lengthen your hamstrings. Step or hop back and flow into your Chaturanga, upward facing dog or cobra. Lift back up, downward facing dog. Turn your palms slightly inwards. 5 push-ups in your down dog. Bend your elbows. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring your palms back to neutral. Either hop or step up towards your palms. Halfway lift, lengthen your hamstrings, fold forward. Come all the way back up to Tadasana. Next, in breath, sweep your arms, lift your heels, start working your calf muscles. Fold forward. Halfway lift. Lengthen your hamstrings. Step or hop back to plank. Flow through Chaturanga, upward facing dog or cobra. Lift up, downward facing dog. Turn your palms slightly inwards. Float your right leg. Lengthen the back of your neck. 5 push-ups in a 3-legged dog. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back into your downward dog. Lift your heels, bend your knees, bring your sit bones to rest on your heels. Walk your hands back, stack your shoulders over your hips, come into a toe balance. Palms to your chest. Open your knees, still keeping your toe balance. Bring your hands alongside your ears. Knees come down onto the mat or onto the floor. Palm the mat. Bring your chest down. Make sure that your ankles are in line with your knees. Coming into a frog stretch. You can stay up on your forearms, or if you can come all the way down, extend your arms and bring your chest down onto the mat and hold your frog stretch for 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1. Bring the soles of your feet together, extend your leg, come up on your forearms, transitioning into swings. Make sure that your elbows are in line with your shoulders. Work your chest through your upper arms. Keep your legs active by pulling up on your kneecaps. Bring the palms to the corners of the mat and push your elbows off the mat. Warming up your back. Come back to swings. Float your legs, float your arms, bringing your palms next to your chest. Coming into a floating baby cobra. Release, come all the way onto the mat and lift up. Release, lift. 2 more. Last one. Tuck your toes, lift your knees off the mat, palms are next to your chest. Push into your mat, lift up into a full plank. Float your right hand, bring it out in a T in line with your shoulders. Rotate onto your feet. Your feet are still staggered. Extend your right hand alongside your ears. Bend both your knees. Bring your left knee towards your right heel and extend back into your side plank. 4, 3, 2, last one. Back into side plank. Bring your right knee behind your left leg. Open your chest up towards the sky. Plant your right palm, come into a full plank. Open up onto the left side of the mat. Extend your right leg. Switching your side plank with right leg floating. Bring your right ankle to rest on your left thigh. Bring your chest to square the back. Bring your left knee down. Figure 4 variation of all fours. Sit your hips back towards your heel and extend. Come back into all fours. 4. You can have your back toes tucked or top of your feet on the mat. Last one. Release. Come back to all fours. Tuck your toes. Lift up. Downward facing dog. Look towards your palms. Squeeze your elbows and come down into dolphin. Float your right leg, 3-legged dolphin. Switch sides, float your left leg. Back to dolphin, bend your knees, look towards the front of the mat, shoot into plank, float through chaturanga, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Walk or hop towards your palms. Halfway lift. Extend your hamstrings. Fold forward. Come all the way up to Tadasana. Next breath, float your heels. Float your arms up towards the sky. Fold forward. Halfway lift. Step or hop back plank. Flow through chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Lift your hips. Downward facing dog. Turn your palms slightly inwards. Float your left leg. Three-legged dog. Keep the back of your neck long and 5 push-ups in your three-legged dog. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to downward facing dog. Lift your heels, bend your knees, bring your sit bones onto your heels, walk your hands back, come into a toe balance. Take a deep breath. Open your knees out wide, arms come alongside your ears. Bring your knees down onto the mat. Come into a frog stretch, either staying up on your forearms or you can go all the way down. Extend your legs, come up on your forearms, coming into a swings. Make sure that your elbows are directly underneath your shoulders. Work your chest through your upper arms, keep your legs active. Bring the palms to the corners of the mat, lift up into baby seal. Release into locust, floating your legs. Float your arms alongside your legs, palms either facing up or down, and hold. Back of your neck is long. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release your locust. Bring your palms next to your chest. Tuck your toes. Lift your knees off the mat. Keep your neck long. Push up into plank. Bring your hand in line with your shoulders. Transition into a side plank, keeping your legs staggered. Right, you can have your left hand alongside your ears. Bend both your knees. Bring your bottom knee to your left ankle, left heel, and extend. 4, 3, 2, last one. Bring your left foot behind your right leg. Open your chest up towards the sky. Left palm comes onto the mat. Switch sides of your side plank. Extend your left leg and hold. Right palm down onto the mat. Square your chest to the mat. Come into figure 4 with your legs. Bring your right knee down. Untuck your toes and push back. Bring your sit bones towards your right heel and extend in your all fours. 2, 3, 4. Come back into all fours. Lift your hips up. Come into downward facing dog. Lift your heels. Bend your knees. Hop to the front of the mat. Halfway lift. Lengthen your hamstrings. Fold forward. Come all the way up. Tadasana. Sweep your arms up, float your heels. Exhale, fold forward. Halfway lift, palm the mats, lengthen your hamstrings. Hop or step back into plank, flow through your chaturanga, upward facing dog, lift up, downward facing dog. Turn your palms slightly inwards. Float your right leg, three-legged dog, 5 push-ups, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Shift your weight forward, bringing your shoulders directly over your wrists, and rotate onto the knife edge side of your left foot. come into a side plank. Optional to float your top leg. Bend your top knee, place your right foot in line with your left hand, square your hips and chest to the mat, extend your right hand alongside your ears. Bring your left knee behind your right foot, sit bones come down onto the mat, wrap your left hand around your right knee, seated twist. Take belly breaths in your twist. Release your twist. Keep rotating in the counterclockwise direction. Face the back of the mat. Come into Malasana. Extend your arms alongside your ears for an extra challenge. Squeeze your glutes. Go back into your seated twist in the same direction that you came into Malasana. Release your twist. Bring your right foot in front of your left knee. Right hand comes a few inches in front of your right foot. Float your back leg. Open your chest, stack your hips, come into half moon. This is where a block can come in handy. You can use your block where your right hand is under your right palm and stack your hips, open up in your half moon. Plant your back foot down. Adjust your stance, come into warrior two. Sink your hips down. Reverse your warrior. Back to warrior two. Square your chest to the front of the mat. Come into a high lunge. Adjust your stance. Squeeze your inner thighs. Bring your palms to your chest. Bring your left shin down next to your right foot. Right shin down. You can support your lower back. Push your hips forward. Open your chest up towards the sky into a camel. If you have the mobility in your shoulders, you can bring your palms down onto your heels. Release your camel. Plant your left foot down. Float your right leg. Coming into warrior three. Optional, you can have your hands floating next to your hips. Release. Bring your right foot to meet your left. Sit in your chair. Come all the way up, Tadasana. Sweep your arms all the way up. Float your heels. Fold forward. Move your block if it's in your way. Plant your palms, halfway lift. Open your hamstrings. Step or hop back, plank, flow through chaturanga, upward facing dog or cobra. Lift your hips up, come into a downward facing dog. Turn your palms slightly inwards, float your left leg, keep the back of your neck long and take 5 push-ups. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to your 3-legged dog. Shift your weight forward, come into a plank and open up into a side plank. You can have your left leg floating the whole time. Bend your left knee, place your left foot in line with your right palm. Extend your left hand alongside your ears. Low lunge variation. Bring your right knee behind your left foot. Sit bones come down onto the mat. Wrap your right hand around your left knee. Take a seated twist. Release your twist. Keep rotating in the clockwise direction. Turn towards the back of the mat. Come into Malasana. Hands can be alongside your ears for an extra challenge. Come back into your seated twist, facing the front of the mat. Release your twist. Bring your left foot in front of your right knee. Left palm comes few inches in front of your left foot. Lift your sit bones off the mat. Float your back leg. Stack your hips. Open your chest. Half moon. You can use your block. Plant your back foot down. Adjust your stance. Come into warrior two. Sink your hips down. Reverse your warrior. Release back into warrior two. Face the front of the mat. Come into a high crescent lunge. Bring your right shin onto the mat next to your left foot. Left shin down and flow into your camel, either supported or full camel. Release your camel. Place your right foot down onto the mat. Float your left leg back. Come into warrior three. You can choose your hand variation. Left foot plants next to the right. Sit in your chair. Arms come alongside your ears. Release. Tadasana. Float your heels. Float your arms. Sweep your arms all the way up. Exhale, fold forward. Plant your palms. Halfway lift. Extend your hamstrings. Lengthen your hamstrings. Hop or step back plank. Flow through Chaduranga. Upward facing dog. Lift your hips. Downward facing dog. Optional to take 5 push-ups. If you want to skip your 5 push-ups, that's fine too. Shift back into plank. Bring your right palm directly underneath your left. Rotate open into your side plank. Optional to float your top leg. Bend your top knee. Place your left foot in line with your right palm and extend your left hand alongside your ears. Plant your left palm down onto the mat. Bring your left shin parallel to the short edge. Sit in your pigeon. Open your chest. Work your right hip down towards the mat. From here you have an option to go into a reclined pigeon, or you can play with taking a twist. Bring your left elbow to hook on the outside of your left foot. Bring your palms in a prayer and open your chest towards the side of the mat, coming into a twist in your pigeon. Release your twist. Palm the mat. Tuck your back toes. Lift your heels. Bring your left ankle to rest over your right thigh. You are in a figure 4 in your downward facing dog. Flex your left foot. Walk your hands back. Sit into a figure 4. Float your arms alongside your ears. That's a tricky transition, so if you want to break it down, you feel free to do that. Pull your left knee into chest. Come up into one-legged Tadasana. We'll get into a standing twist. So you have your option to keep your knee bent or extend your left leg. Release your twist. Grab hold of left big toe with your peace fingers. Open your knee on the outside of your left hip. Stay here, or you can extend your left leg. Release back to one-legged Tadasana. Bring your left foot down. Adjust your stance. Make sure that your feet are on parallel tracks. Square your hips to the front of the mat. Fold forward into pyramid. Take a deep breath. Halfway lift. Plant your right palm directly underneath your right shoulder. Twist in your pyramid. Bend your front leg. Slowly float your back foot off the mat, transitioning into a revolved half moon. Bend both knees and bring your sit bones down, your back into the seated twist. We'll turn towards the back of the mat. Come into Malasana. Extend your arms alongside your ears for a challenge. Palm the mat. Shift your weight forward. Bring your knees as high as you can on your upper arm. Play with floating into a crow. You can bring one leg, one foot off the mat or both. Release back into Malasana. Rotate back into your seated twist. Release your twist. Palm the mat. Step back into plank. Flow through Chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Lift your hips. Downward facing dog. Bring your feet to the top of the mat. Halfway lift. Fold forward. Come all the way up, Tadasana. Next breath, float your heels, float your arms. Fold forward. Palm the mat. Halfway lift. Step or hop back plank. Flow through Chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Lift your hips. Downward facing dog. Shift forward into plank. Bring your left palm directly underneath your left shoulder. Open up into a side plank. Optional to float your top leg. Bend your top knee. Bring your right foot in line with your left palm. Extend your right hand alongside your ears. Bring your right palm down onto the mat. Right shin comes parallel. Shift, transition into a pigeon. Hook your right elbow on the outside of your right foot. Bring your palms into prayer. Take a twist. Release your twist. Palm the mat. Tuck your back toes. Lift your hips. Bring your right ankle to rest on your left thigh. Walk your hands back and sit into a figure 4. You can have your hands in a prayer or arms alongside your ears. Lift up into one-legged Tadasana. Take a standing twist. Optional to keep your right knee bent. Release your twist. Grab hold of your big toe with 2 peace fingers. Open your right knee on to the outside of your right hip. Stay here or extend your right leg. Release back into one-legged Tadasana. Plant your right foot slightly in front of you Adjust your stance. Hinge from your hips, fold into a pyramid. Halfway lift, plant your left palm down, rotate, take a twist in the pyramid. Bend your front leg and float your back foot off the mat. Come into a revolved half moon. Back knee comes down onto the mat behind your front foot. Come into a seated twist. Turn towards the back of the mat. Come into malasana. Palm the mat. Bring your knees to rest anywhere over your upper arm. Shift forward. Try playing with coming into a crow pose. Back into malasana. Come back into your seated twist. Release your twist. This time extend both your legs in front of you. We'll come into a seated forward fold. Optional, if you want to use your block here, you can bring your block and place it in front of your feet. Extend your arms alongside your ears. Lengthen your torso. Hinge from your hips. Fold forward. You can wrap your fingers on the outside of the block. Keep pulling up on your kneecap. Release your forward fold, move your block. Bring the soles of your feet together. Come into butterfly. Lengthen your torso, stay here, or you can fold forward in your butterfly. Release, come all the way up. Stack your right shin on top of your left shin. Coming into a fire log. If you have a gap between your top knee and your bottom foot, you can use your block to bridge the gap. You can sit up in your fire log, or optional to walk your hands forward and fold. Make sure that you're flexing both your feet. Release. Switch your legs. Bring your left shin on top of your right. Lengthen. Stay here, or walk your hands forward and fold. Release. Come all the way down onto the mat. Your weight is on your heels. Extend your arms up towards the sky. Bring your palms on the outside of your ears. Push into your heels, squeeze your glutes, lift your hips off the mat. Next exhale, push the mat down and come up into full wheel. Release your back bend. Hug your knees into your chest. Roll on from side to side. And release into shavasana. Don't skip shavasana. Take 2 minutes just for yourself, if not longer. Consolidate your practice. Come back to your breath. I hope you had fun doing that practice with me. Please do consider subscribing to the channel, and happy holidays everyone. Have a fun time.